Welcome to Book Tasting. We're reading today The Case of the Missing Robot, and this is a book written by Laura L. Zimmerman. Chapter 1. Friday morning rolled in with a wind that swirled tighter than icing on a cupcake. December in North Carolina could get chilly. This was crazy. Alex wrinkled her nose and grabbed an extra sweatshirt on her way out the door to school. She refused to wear a winter coat, no matter how much that wind gusted. Maybe spring would return sooner if she never acknowledged the cold. "Don't forget your gloves, Alexandria Virginia Brock," her mother yelled at her. Alex sighed and turned back. "Yes, ma'am. And keep an eye on Savannah and Denver, please. Orlando is always too distracted with his friends. Bless that boy." Alex could hear the groan in his mother's voice. Her brother Orlando was a year older than her, but acted more like her younger siblings. Each of the Brock kids were named after popular cities, although she and Savannah were the only two whose middle name were the actual states. Virginia and Georgia were apparently acceptable when it came to names. But your kid Colorado or Florida, those names just weren't proper. Or so her mom said. Naming kids after cities was a tradition from her mom's side of the family. Her favorite aunt was named after a city in Texas, but she liked to be called Desi, since Odessa was such an odd name. Alex liked this about Aunt Desi. The name suited her perfectly. Alex caught up with Ruby, her best friend and neighbor of all of 12 years. As they walked along the newly paved sidewalk to school, her younger siblings stuck close behind them. Orlando was already out of sight, though. Ruby grinned, her normally pale cheeks bright pink with excitement. She was just a few inches shorter than Alex, so she looked up with a big smile. "You're looking especially dapper this morning." Sometimes her best friend was more of a walking dictionary than a normal 12-year-old. "I'm just saying that hat and mittens totally round out that outfit. Quite sophisticated, if I say so," Ruby giggled. She was bundled into a big, fat, royal blue winter coat with a hood hanging off the back. Alex imagined her friend sweating already. Alex fingered her gloves, or flexed her fingers inside her own annoying pairs of stuffy gloves. "Ready for the assembly?" Ruby's curtly blonde ponytail bounced around as she walked. So different from Alex's dark, kinky hair. She usually kept hers in buns or braids to wrangle it into submission. "Yep, tiger spirit." Alex pulled a small orange and black pom-pom from her backpack and waved it in the air. Her friend giggled and clapped her hands with the special tiger spirit hand clap. Savannah and Denver laughed behind them, but Alex doubted it had anything to do with the cheer. Assembly, a monthly pep rally the school held to honor students and teachers. She turned back to find them jumping side to side to avoid stepping on the lines of the sidewalk. She shook her head and smiled. Cheer assembly days were always the best. The whole school spent the last hour together in the gym, honoring students that had achieved awards and celebrating the middle school sports teams. And the teachers let Alex and Ruby hand out their homemade business cards advertising R.A.D. Detectives. Being the only 6th grade super sleuths, R.A.D. Detectives, in the whole school district, Alex knew they were great because she'd checked. Redford Middle School came into view. The newly built building had sleek brown bricks on the outside with plenty of windows, a long circular driveway wrapped around the front, and a line of school buses backed up already. Savannah and Denver raced around them and up the path to the elementary school that sat between their own school. Ruby and Alex got caught up in a wave of students that flooded inside. Happy chatter and shouts filled the halls. Alex glanced inside the gym. A strange man was mopping the floor. He wore a janitor's uniform, his russet-colored hair cropped short, thick glasses resting on his nose. A thick, curled mustache sat above his upper lip. but she'd never seen him before. She ran her tongue over her braces. Huh, who's that guy? Where's Herb? Herb was the regular school janitor who often kept peppermints in his pockets to hand out to the kids. And he told bad dad jokes, but the kids always forgave him for them. Maybe he's sick, Ruby said as she led the way through the sea of students. I sure hope he still works here. I miss the sweets he brings. Alex scoffed. You never eat any. Yeah, but it's a nice gesture for the rest of the kids, Ruby said. Alex shook her head. Her friend was often overly dramatic. Following their classmates into the room, she took her seat. The routine of attendance, math, and science dragged on way too long. A few hours later, excitement rippled through the class like an ocean wave. Cheer assembly time. Mrs. Chang, Alex's teacher, wore a broad smile as she took her place in front of the room. Before we leave for the assembly, I have some exciting news. Miss Chang pulled a boxy object from under her desk and placed it on top. Her almond-shaped eyes sparkled with excitement. The robot! Alex sat straighter in her chair. Ruby closed her book of crossword puzzles to actually pay attention. The robot was as tall as Alex's forearm, with a fire engine red body, thick black boots, and an alabaster head of hair. Chubby cheeks and crimson lips rounded out his face. A bright red hat flopped off the top of his head. In one hand was a small bag that actually opened, so you could put stuff inside it. That was the best part of the whole thing. The only part missing was his other arm. The class had been working hard all semester to earn the chance to see the Santa robot come to life. Miss Chang kept a jar on her desk and would put beans inside each time one of her students was helpful or kind to another classmate. Every time the jar was filled, they added another piece of the robot and slowly built it together. Mrs. Chang tucked a short piece of her straight black hair behind her ear. Today we finished building Mr. Jingles. She held up the missing arm from the robot. We're all set to see him come to life next Friday at our class party. The entire class cheered so loudly. This was what they had been waiting for, or rather next Friday was. Building a robot together was part of their class STEM project. Robots were always and almost as interesting as solving crimes. Almost. Miss Chang pulled a metal arm from her desk drawer and began the process of attaching it as the students watched. Alex was just about to lean over to Ruby to whisper how excited she was when something caught her eye. Across the room sat Travis Marshall, the tallest kid in the 6th grade. He had a face full of acne, and everyone considered him the class bully. Alex had been eager to set him in his place since 4th grade, but Travis's face wasn't what had her fixated. It was the way he looked at the robot. His eyes were squinted, jaw was clenching and unclenching, as if he was calculating and planning something secret behind his head. In fact, his brow pulled tight enough to suggest anger. Okay, Mrs. Chang stood straighter, and the robot now complete. You will have to all line up at the door, and we'll head to the assembly. You can leave your backpacks here. We'll retrieve them before you head home. So that is the first chapter of The Case of the Missing Robot by Laura L. Zimmerman. And it is an interesting sounding book. It's not a very big book, but a very good read. So if you get a chance to come into the library and visit us here at Alexander Hamilton Memorial Free Library, and you want to check this book out, we'll make that happen for you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.